up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the DNF podcast with your girl, Crystal. And yes, we're back racing this week. We are in Suzuka, we are in Japan, and honestly, it's probably one of my favorite tracks on the F1 grid just because it tends to be a very, very quick track. In the recent years, we really haven't gotten that much battles or overtaking. It's because of dirty air and the cars being so big, but it's still an exciting track to watch. So hopefully with the smaller cars and this new regulation, hopefully we'll get an exciting race. I'm trying to be optimistic. I'm trying to be hopeful because if I'm being 100% honest, I am kind of dreading this race weekend as an Oscar Piastri fan because my boy has not raced in two Grand Prix. Yes, he was able to complete and finish the sprint race in China, but was not able to race during the actual race. So we'll see. We'll see. So in today's episode, we are going to go over my quali predictions. We're going to go over my race predictions, and we're going to talk about some other exciting things as well. But before we get into any of that, I feel like we need to debrief a little bit of what happened in China last time around. And I do have to give a huge, huge shout out and congratulations to Kimi Antonelli. I personally am not a Kimi Antonelli stan. I do like the kid. I'm not like actively rooting for him because I have my driver. But the fact that he finally got his first F1 pole position, and not only that, he was able to convert it into a Formula One win, and his first Formula One win was just it was beautiful to see how emotional he got. And I love seeing like when Formula One drivers get their first race wins and just the emotions, or not even just their first race wins, but their podiums as well. Because some of them, the way that they show their emotions compared to others is really exciting. So I was super, super happy for him. Also, super happy for Lewis because he finally got his podium with Ferrari. And I think it's very iconic of him to get it in China because if we remember last year, he got his first sprint win with Ferrari in China. So kind of a little full circle moment. And it was kind of a good way to like shh the haters saying that he's washed and that he needs to retire. I feel like he's really rejuvenated. I think he really like he likes the regs to a certain extent. I'm not gonna say he loves them, but he does like them, and it's more the car is more to his suitability. So I'm hoping that's not the last time we see Lewis on a podium, and I'm hoping we actually get a race win for him this year. But who knows? Because Miss Kim K is in Japan, so we might be. No, no, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm not putting that out there. But anyways, also the fact that both McLarens were not able to race in China. Lando never made it out of his garage, and then Oscar was able to do his reconnaissance lap. He was able to make it to the grid, and then right before we were supposed to go, they wheeled them back in and said, "Sorry, bro. There's a PU unit software issue." And I'm like, "Why are we having software issues?" So my hopium is like right here, and I'm trying to remain hopeful, but who knows? But anyways, that was China, you guys. Let's jump in to Suzuka, to Japan. So we do not have a sprint race this weekend, so we will have our normal FP1, FP2, and FP3. And we will also just have one qualifying this weekend as well. Also, we will be seeing a new face on the grid for Aston Martin as Jack Crawford, who is an American, who was driving in Formula 2 last year, will be driving an Aston Martin for FP1. Now, for those of you who are not familiar, all teams are required to let one young driver. So usually it's a reserve driver, or if they have someone in the academy, an F2, they have to let them drive the car during one free practice. So Aston Martin is choosing to do it in Japan, and they're required to do it twice. So let's get into qualifying for Suzuka. Which to be honest, now that I kind of have grasped cannot talk where like the grid is, I fear that my predictions are going to look the same every single week until teams start bringing in upgrades, which there's a rumor saying that Red Bull is bringing an upgrade for Suzuka, but we don't, at least I don't know for what, so we shall see. But anyways, let's start off with Q1. And who do I have in P22? Well, none other than my bestie, Lance Stroll. In P21, I have Fernando Alonso. I fear that Aston Martin's still struggling a little bit. But sorry, and I really had them high up this year. Anyways, in P20, I have Valtteri Bottas. In P19, I do have Checo. I feel like Cadillac is kind of slowly getting their bearings together. So I won't be surprised if we see them slowly start to climb up the grid little by little. I'm not saying like it's going to be a huge difference, but they're going to be closing in the gaps. And the fact they should be proud at the fact that they're able to complete a full race. So. No tea, no shade, but that was tea and that was shade. In P18, I have Carlos Sainz, and ending our Q1 session, I have Alex Albon. I just feel like Williams is struggling. I don't, and it's crazy to say that because they have a Mercedes engine, and you see that Alpine isn't struggling. McLaren isn't struggling as much as Williams are, but they're still able to make it into Q3. And the fact that Williams just hasn't, I mean, we'll see. We will see, okay? All right, that was the end of Q1. Let's head into Q2. Q2, P16, I have Arvid Lindblad. He struggled a lot more in China than he did in Australia. Maybe it's just circuit based. We shall see. P15, I have Gabby. Oh yeah, we haven't even we'll get into that here in a second. P14, I have Esteban Ocon. P13, I have Liam Lawson. P12, I have Nico Hulkenberg, and closing out Q2, I have Isaac Hadjard. And it's that P11 and P10 is like they're gonna be real close. Like it's gonna be blink of an eye what separates them. I'm gonna give you my Q3, my top 10. And starting off strong, I have Oliver Behrman with that Godzilla livery from Haas. Hell yeah. P9, it's gonna surprise some people. I have Franco Colapinto, and that is because I fear that Alpine is cooking. And I don't want them to cook, but they are cooking. P8, I have Pierre, so I have both Alpines making it into Q3. Now, there has been sayings that Toto Wolff is trying to buy Alpine, and surprise, surprise, they are the one team that isn't struggling with the Mercedes engine. So, I'm not saying it, but I'm saying it if you catch my drift. Um, P7, I have Max. I would love to have Max higher because Max deserves to be higher. However, that car is just so. P6, I have Oscar. P5, I have Lando. Despite McLaren not being able to race in China and Oscar not being able to race in Australia, they have made it into Q3 every single time. And they have been either in the top five. So I'm not delusional for putting them where I have. P4, I do have Lewis. And here we go. Top three. I have George in P3, Charles in P2, and taking his second pole position, I have Kimi Antonelli. I feel like Kimi has tasted the glory of what it's like to be on pole position, and I hope not to jinx him, but I fear that he is gonna do what Oscar did last season, where once Oscar got his first pole position, it was like pole position after pole position after pole position, even though I know he didn't get in Suzuka. but he got into the groove and the rhythm of things. And the only thing I'm hoping is that Kimmy's performance doesn't drop the way the Oscars did halfway through the season. So, but we're gonna see because he's young and he's inexperienced, so he's going up against his experienced teammate George, who, I mean, a man went on a mission and a PowerPoint, he's unstoppable. So, yeah. And I just feel like I know Charles says he feels like he can't put in a crazy lap, but I also feel like the more Ferrari is starting to understand these regulations, the stronger that they're going to get. And the fact that they are able to jump the Mercedes at the start every single time is great. Now, what I need them to do is when they jump them at the start, is for them to keep it there and not flunder or blunder it, okay? So. But yeah, that was qualifying for me. Now, real quick, because like I said, I feel like these predictions are kind of going to start to become a little bit repetitive. So I wanted to add a little sprinkle, a little some crazy little predictions on the side. If you see me looking down, it's because I have my notebook. This time I decided to write it down. It's just easier for me instead of looking at my phone. And so I have some predictions written down. But before we get into any of that, what do you mean Jonathan Wheatley has left Audi? The fact that everybody was glazing him after the Netflix episode came out about how he creates such a positive work environment, and the fact that Gabby loves him, Nico loves him, and of course, Bonotto, stupid, had to be involved in this. But what do you mean? And here's the kicker. Here's the kicker in all this. Adrian Newey has stepped down as team principal for Aston Martin. So Jonathan Wheatley is most likely going to Aston Martin. Mind you, these two have worked together at Red Bull. So maybe this year we won't be getting the Aston Martin car that we thought we were going to get. But who knows what the hell we're getting in 2027 because is it gonna be like Red Bull incarnated like 2.0? Oh my gosh. If it's like the RB19 all over again, ay, ay, ay. But anyways, that was breaking news over this past week. But let's get into some of my predictions that I wrote for the race. So here we go. The first thing that I wrote was McLaren will complete at least one lap. So both McLarens will at least complete one lap, please. If they at least complete one, then check. Aston Martin will finish the race. Just Fernando. And a little spiciness, but I believe there might be some contact with the Mercedes. Mind you, George has been in Formula One for a very long time. It is Kimmy's second season. I don't believe for a second that George is going to let his teammate take the driver's championship away from him. And George is going to do whatever he can to make sure he wins. And even though he is not the golden child nor the chosen one of Toto Wolff, he is going to pull what I believe is a Nico Rosberg. And we will see some contact between the two of them. And I hope it gets spicy because we need that. We need that in the season so far. So, without further ado, I'm going to give you my top 10 results for the Suzuka Grand Prix. Now, I did say I had Ollie qualifying in P10. However, I have Franco moving down one, and he will be P10. I do have Isaac Hadjard moving up, though, to P9. Um, I do have Max going down one to P8, and it has nothing to do with his racing. It just has to do that the fact of the matter is that their car, Red Bull's cars, are terrible at starts. Like everyone else is like revving up, and then as soon as the lights go off, it's like they get stuck in first gear, second gear, and they're not able to push forward. And it's just like, if only they had the same type of, starts that Ferrari had. I mean, we'd be talking a whole different story here. Um, P7, I do have Pierre, so I do have Pierre moving up. And this is more for self-satisfaction. I do have Lando and Oscar trading places, so Lando being P6, Oscar being P5. I honestly don't think McLaren are gonna make any inroads at all. Lewis stays at P4. However, top three changes slightly, and that is Charles in P3, George in P2, and Kimmy in P1. So I do have Kimmy winning back to back. Well, I didn't have him last week, but he in my book now, he would be winning back to back races. So kind of boring, I know, but it's just like I wish if the gaps were a little bit closer and the racing was a little bit closer, I could probably like zhuzh this up, but I really can't. Like I have to be realistic. Because in my delusion, I would have Oscar P1 every single time, but I can't. I can't do that. That would not be right. And that is it for my Suzuka Grand Prix predictions. Now, I have said it once, have said it twice, and I'll say it again. The F part of DNF stands for football, and as you can tell, I am wearing a Manchester City jersey because we actually won a trophy this season. I cannot believe that we won the Carabao Cup, and not only did we win, but it's who we won against. We won against Arsenal. We were the underdogs in this situation, which crazy, I know. But everybody was like, nah, Arsenal's gonna win. Arsenal's gonna win. And Nico O'Reilly said, shh. He's one of our own. He's one of our own. Nico O'Reilly. He's one of our own. Yes, he is. He comes up from the City Academy. Oh, so great to see. And it was his 21st birthday as well, like the day before. What a way to celebrate his 21st birthday, getting a brace at Wembley out of all places. He played such a fantastic game, and it was great to see, like, not just him, but like the entire team celebrate this win, but also to see Pep just so animated and so like I felt like we had won the Champions League. And I know it's the Carabao Cup. And some people were like, why do we care about it? Ah, but I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. You're allowed to bully me for saying that. But it was just great to see. I mean, we didn't win any trophies in 2025, so going trophyless for a full season and to finally win our first trophy, it was very sweet. And also because we've had to rebuild the squad. A lot of these players have never won a trophy. So we had, I believe it was like five players who had never won a trophy. So it was great to see with City. I should say with City. Um, and it was just kind of great to see that reaction. And I think it's kind of like when you win everything and you're winning all the time, winning gets boring, but you always need to bring in that refresher. And I feel like a lot of the guys that we have now have been the refreshers of wanting to chase the Premier League title, the Champions League title. And I know we're not in the Champions League race anymore because of Real Madrid. But and I mean, there's still hope for we have the FA Cup. We could probably win the FA Cup, and then I mean, it's the hope that kills you, but there's a possibility that we could also win the Premier League. To dismantle the quadruple for Arsenal, though, mwah, love, 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 love. So that was that for this weekend. So we're in the international break. By the way, if you didn't know, which means a lot of the players who've been called up to their national teams, they're playing some friendlies. You know, the international break. So right now, currently where the Premier League table stands is Arsenal is at 70 points. However, they have played 31 games. City is at 61 points and we've only played 30 games. Manchester United, which crazy to have them in the top three, have 55 points. But Aston Villa is in fourth, and they currently have 54 points. So that'll be an interesting race to see who wins between United and Villa because obviously they're vying for the Champions League position as well. Um, Now let's get into Champions League because woo, the games that we have are like I honestly think it's a stacked bracket, and in my head I kind of have like who I'd like to see in the final, but I'm not going to put that out there just yet. But I will tell you who will be playing the next four games. Or yeah. So it's going to be Real Madrid versus Bayern, and I fear that Bayern is, well, actually I don't fear. I salivate at the thought of Bayern just killing Real Madrid. I'm just like, please do it. Do it. Because Bayern has just been unstoppable, not just in the Champions League, but also in the Bundesliga. So shout out to Vincent Company, an old City player, for doing an amazing job with Bayern. I know we say Munich, but they say Munchen, so I don't really know how to say the team, so I just say Bayern, okay? Then we have Sporting versus Arsenal, which is kind of like David versus Goliath a little bit. However, I'm not sleeping on Sporting because Bodo Glimt gave them a run for their money, but then they came back swinging second leg. So, as much as I would love to say Sporting is going to win, I also feel like it's going to be Arsenal winning. However, please make me swallow my words, Sporting, please. I would love to be like, and I was wrong. Then we have PSG versus Liverpool. And breaking news today, Mo Salah will be leaving Liverpool at the end of the season. What? Also, what do you mean Antoine Griezmann is heading to the MLS, leaving Atletico de Madrid? What? But the most important one actually was the Mo Salah one, which is crazy how many years he's dedicated to Liverpool. Um, but I would, for the feel good moment, I would love to put Liverpool just to kind of give him that like that great send off for Mo, but I don't think that's going to happen just based on how they're playing, and it's just like the inconsistencies across the board. So for that reason, I am going with PSG. And the last game, well, not the last, but the last bracket or teams is Barcelona versus Atletico de Madrid. And they did beat us recently. So, but this is champions. And for some reason, I feel like when it's champions, Barcelona kind of screws their head on together. And I said it last week when I was talking to my dad about this, but um because Barcelona whooped Newcastle. And I told my dad, watch the next game, which is going to be a La Liga game. They're barely going to win, or it's going to be a tie. And because they tend to do this, they will completely wipe the floor with the team. And in the next game, it's like, we have forgotten how to play the game. And that's exactly what happened. They completely wiped the floor with Newcastle, barely won their game on Sunday. So we'll see, but I have to pick Barcelona. I mean, you're never gonna catch me ever picking a Madrid team unless it's the derby, then I will be picking Atletico de Madrid, but I will always choose Barcelona. So that is gonna be interesting Champions League matches. I'm looking forward to it. We have no games, like I said, this weekend just because we are an international break. So we can focus on F1, baby. So, with that being said, let me know who you think is going to win the Suzuka Grand Prix. Who do you have winning the Champions League title? Because obviously I know who I have. But who would you like to see in the final at least? And yeah. Tell me a crazy prediction that you have for this upcoming race or this upcoming season. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate all the love and support and everyone who watches, my family, my friends, random people who have followed. I appreciate it so, so much. And I'm very, very grateful and thankful from the bottom of my heart. I absolutely adore and I love these sports. Like, you have no idea the passion that I feel for both for both of these sports. I hope it comes across when I'm talking about it. And I try to keep these, like I say, short, sweet, and simple because I know we have things to do during our day. But this is just for fun, you guys, and I hope you enjoy me rambling. And Yeah, I will catch you guys next time to debrief the Japanese Grand Prix. Anyways, see you guys later. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, and share.